planet is home to places so beautiful they don't look real. Places that make you question whether you're looking at a photograph or a painting. From pink lakes that look like they belong on another planet to waterfalls that seem to fall from the heavens themselves, we're about to take you on a journey through 20 of the most jaw-droppingly beautiful places on Earth. Welcome back to Mirabilia, where we explore the wonderful things that make our world extraordinary. Today, we're counting down 20 natural and man-made wonders that will leave you speechless. But this isn't just a simple list. We're going deep, uncovering the hidden stories, the fascinating science, and the incredible facts that make these places truly extraordinary. Over the next half hour, we'll explore mysteries that scientists are still trying to solve, ancient legends that have persisted for thousands of years, and natural phenomena so rare that some people wait their entire lives to witness them. We'll discover why some of these places were hidden from the world for centuries and why others are now under threat. Our first stop is Lake Hillier on Middle Island off the coast of Western Australia. This isn't just any lake, it's bubblegum pink. And we're not talking about a slight tint. This water is the color of strawberry milkshake, and scientists still aren't completely sure why. Here's what makes Lake Hillier truly bizarre. Unlike other pink lakes around the world, this one's color doesn't change. Most pink lakes only appear pink under certain conditions, specific light angles, particular times of day, or seasons. But Lake Hillier, it's always pink. Always. Even when you take the water out and put it in a bottle, it stays pink. The leading theory involves a combination of salt-loving algae called Dunaliella salina and bacteria called halobacteria. These organisms produce carotenoids, the same pigments that make carrots orange and flamingos pink. But here's the puzzle. Other lakes with the same organisms aren't this intensely pink. In 2016, researchers collected samples and found the lake contains an entirely unique ecosystem with bacteria species found nowhere else on Earth. Lake Hillier was first documented in 1802 by British explorer Matthew Flinders, who climbed Middle Island's highest peak and was shocked by what he saw. For over a century, people thought he was exaggerating or had made a mistake. The lake was used for salt mining in the early 1900s, but the remote location made it economically unviable. Today, Middle Island is uninhabited, and the lake remains one of nature's most beautiful mysteries. Fun fact, the lake is about 600 meters long and surrounded by a rim of sand and dense woodland. From above, it looks like a giant pink jelly bean dropped into the emerald forest. And despite its unusual color, the water is completely safe. You could swim in it, though accessing the remote island requires special permission. Location number 2. Plitvice Lakes, Croatia. From pink to turquoise, we head to Croatia's Plitvice Lakes National Park. Imagine 16 cascading lakes connected by waterfalls, each one a different shade of blue and green. The water is so clear you can see straight to the bottom, and the surrounding forests create a fairy tale setting that changes dramatically with every season. What makes Plitvice truly special is that it's alive and constantly changing. The lakes are formed by natural travertine barriers that are still growing today. Moss, algae, and bacteria deposit calcium carbonate on the rocks, building the barriers higher by about 1 centimeter each year. This means the waterfalls and lakes you see today look different from how they appeared even 50 years ago. Those incredible shades of blue and turquoise aren't random. The color depends on the mineral content, organisms present, and the angle of sunlight. The lakes contain a specific type of algae and calcite that creates the intense turquoise color. The clarity is so extreme, often exceeding 20 meters of visibility, that fish appear to be floating in air. The park is home to an incredible diversity of life. Brown bears roam the forests along with wolves, wildcats, and over 157 bird species. The lakes themselves contain 19 species of fish, including a rare brown trout that grows nowhere else on Earth. In winter, the waterfalls freeze into stunning ice sculptures,
while spring brings an explosion of wildflowers. During the Yugoslav wars in the 1990s, Plitvice was actually the site of the first armed conflict, known as the Plitvice Lakes Incident. Despite this dark period, the park survived relatively unscathed. Local legend says the lakes were created by the Black Queen during a great drought. She sent a massive rainstorm that lasted for days, filling the valleys and creating the cascading pools. The park receives over 1.2 million visitors annually, and park management faces a constant challenge: how to let people experience this wonder while protecting its delicate ecosystem. The wooden walkways you see in photos were designed to float on the water surface, preventing erosion and allowing the travertine to continue its natural growth process. Now we're going underground to Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, where the Cenote dos Ojos, or Two Eyes, awaits. This is an underwater cave system where fresh water meets salt water, creating a surreal visual effect. When sunlight pierces through the openings above, it creates beams of light that look like staircases to heaven. Cenote dos Ojos is part of a massive underwater cave system, the third longest in the world, stretching over 82 kilometers. Cenote comes from the Mayan word zonot, meaning sacred well. The ancient Maya believed these were portals to Xibalba, the underworld, and used them for religious ceremonies. Archaeologists have found human bones, pottery, and gold jewelry in the depths. One of the most incredible phenomena here is the halocline, a distinct layer where fresh water from rainfall meets denser salt water seeping up from the ocean. When you dive through this boundary, it looks like a liquid mirror or a shimmering oil slick. Objects appear distorted and doubled, creating an otherworldly diving experience unlike anything else on Earth. Those famous light beams only appear under specific conditions. The sun needs to be at the right angle, the water must be perfectly still, and there can't be too many particles suspended in the water. When all conditions align, the beams of light create what divers call God rays, or light pillars, that illuminate the entire cavern in an ethereal glow. The Yucatan Peninsula has no rivers. It's all porous limestone. Rain falls, filters through the rock for years, and emerges in these cenotes crystal clear and perfectly fresh. The entire region is connected by an underground river system so vast that scientists are still mapping it. In 2018, divers exploring Cenote dos Ojos discovered something extraordinary: an underwater cave containing over 200 archaeological sites and the bones of giant ground sloths, saber-toothed cats, and other extinct megafauna. These animals fell into the cenotes during the Ice Age, when water levels were much lower. Human remains found here date back over 12,000 years, making them some of the oldest human evidence in the Americas. Speaking of otherworldly water, Vadu Island in the Maldives offers one of nature's most magical shows. At night, the waves glow electric blue, as if the stars fell into the ocean. This phenomenon is caused by bioluminescent plankton called dinoflagellates. When disturbed by movement, they emit light as a defense mechanism, turning the entire shoreline into a living galaxy. The organisms responsible are called Lingulodinium polyedrum, and they're absolutely fascinating. These single-celled creatures have a circadian rhythm. They only glow at night. During the day, they photosynthesize like plants. At night, when disturbed, they produce a chemical reaction involving luciferin and oxygen that creates that electric blue light. It's the same mechanism as fireflies use, just underwater. Scientists believe the light is a defense mechanism called a burglar alarm. When a predator disturbs the plankton, they flash brightly, which attracts larger predators that might eat the thing trying to eat them. It's like triggering a security light that brings the police. Clever, right? This phenomenon, called sea sparkle or bioluminescent bay, requires specific conditions. You need warm water, the right nutrients, calm seas, and no moon. The Maldives provides all of these, but the display varies from night to night. Sometimes the whole shoreline glows. Other times, only footsteps in the water create light. During red tide algae blooms, when dinoflagellate concentrations are highest, every wave becomes a cascade of blue fire. Global hotspots. While Vadu is famous, this phenomenon occurs in several locations worldwide. Puerto Rico's Mosquito Bay is the brightest bioluminescent bay in the world, with concentrations up to 720,000 organisms per gallon. Tasmania's Preservation Bay, San Diego's beaches, and certain spots in Thailand all experience similar displays.
We couldn't talk about beautiful water without mentioning Victoria Falls, the largest sheet of falling water in the world. The locals call it Mosioa Tunya, the smoke that thunders. And when you see it, you'll understand why. During peak flow, over 500 million liters of water cascade down every minute, creating a mist that rises 400 meters into the air and produces permanent rainbows. Victoria Falls is neither the tallest nor the widest waterfall in the world, but it's the largest by volume. It's 1,708 meters wide and 108 meters high. At peak flow during the rainy season, the roar can be heard from 40 kilometers away, and the mist is visible from 50 kilometers away. That's why David Livingstone called it, "Scenes so lovely must have been gazed upon by angels in their flight." The falls were created by a simple but powerful geological process. The Zambezi River flows over a plateau, then suddenly drops into a narrow gorge carved from soft basalt rock. But here's the fascinating part. Victoria Falls is actually the 8th waterfall in this location. Over 2 million years, the river has carved 7 previous gorges, each time finding a new weak point in the rock and creating a new waterfall. In another 10,000 years, the current falls will erode away and a new one will form upstream. The lunar rainbow. Victoria Falls is only one of 2 places on Earth where you can regularly see a lunar rainbow, or moonbow. These occur during full moons when there's enough moonlight to create rainbows in the mist. The moonbow appears white to the human eye because our night vision doesn't detect colors well, but in photographs, you can see the full spectrum. This phenomenon only happens a few nights per month, making it incredibly special. The Devil's Pool. During the dry season, when water levels are low, a natural rock pool forms at the very edge of the falls. It's called Devil's Pool, and thrill seekers swim right to the edge and peer over the 108-meter drop. A natural rock lip prevents swimmers from going over, but it's still one of the world's most dangerous tourist attractions. Several people have died here when water levels were misjudged. The area around Victoria Falls is teeming with life. Elephants, hippos, crocodiles, and buffalo all frequent the riverbanks. The rainforest created by the constant mist supports species found nowhere else in the region, including rare orchids and ferns. The African fish eagle, with its distinctive call, patrols the waters, while vervet monkeys and baboons inhabit the surrounding forests. Historical significance. Dr. David Livingstone, the Scottish explorer, became the first European to see the falls on November 16, 1855. He named them after Queen Victoria, though the indigenous Lozi people had lived here for thousands of years. Livingstone wrote, "No one can imagine the beauty of the view from anything witnessed in England. It had never been seen before by European eyes, but scenes so lovely must have been gazed upon by angels in their flight." Modern threats. Climate change is affecting Victoria Falls in dramatic ways. In 2019, during one of the worst droughts in decades, parts of the falls completely dried up for the first time in living memory. The smoke that thunders became a trickle. While seasonal variation is normal, scientists warn that extended droughts could become the new reality, threatening both the ecosystem and the tourism economy that sustains the region. If those floating mountains in the movie Avatar looked familiar, it's because they were inspired by this place.
Zhangjiajie National Forest Park in China features over 3,000 sandstone pillars that tower up to 200 meters high. These ancient formations were created over 380 million years ago and are often shrouded in mist, making them look like they're actually floating. The formation process. These pillars weren't carved by wind or water like most rock formations. They were created through a process called physical erosion and weathering. Around 380 million years ago, this area was underwater. Sediment accumulated and compressed into sandstone. Then, over millions of years, tectonic activity lifted the seabed and erosion carved away the softer rock, leaving these spectacular pillars standing like ancient sentinels. The pillars create dozens of microclimates. Plants growing at the top of a pillar experience completely different conditions than those at the bottom. Scientists have identified over 3,000 plant species in the park, including the dove tree, a species once thought extinct. Several plants found here grow nowhere else on Earth. In 2016, Zhangjiajie opened the world's longest and highest glass bridge, spanning 430 meters across a canyon at a height of 260 meters. The bridge can hold 800 people and has a glass floor that lets you look straight down into the abyss. When it opened, they tested it by driving a car across it and having 30 people jump on it simultaneously. It's both terrifying and exhilarating. The Tuja people, who have lived in this region for thousands of years, believe these pillars are the fingers of gods reaching toward heaven. According to legend, the warrior Shang Dakun fought here against invaders, and when he died, the mountains rose up as eternal guardians. The park contains ancient temples built into cliff faces, some accessible only by steep, narrow staircases carved into the rock. The park's popularity is both a blessing and a curse. Foot traffic has eroded paths, and air pollution from nearby cities sometimes obscures the views. Park officials have implemented strict visitor limits and built elevated walkways to protect sensitive areas.
Location number 7, Pamukkale, Turkey. Turkey's Pamukkale, which means cotton castle, looks like a frozen waterfall made of pure white stone. But these aren't stones at all. They're travertine terraces formed by calcium-rich thermal waters flowing down the mountainside. For over 2,000 years, people have bathed in these therapeutic pools, and the ancient city of Hierapolis was built right at the top. Pamukkale is essentially a massive mineral deposit in progress. Hot springs rich in calcium carbonate emerge from the hillside at temperatures around 35 degrees Celsius. As the water flows down and cools, the calcium carbonate precipitates out, forming travertine. It's the same process that creates stalactites in caves, just happening on a mountainside in broad daylight. The terraces grow about 2 to 3 millimeters per year. The Romans knew a good thing when they saw it. They built the city of Hierapolis here in 190 BC, creating one of antiquity's premier spa destinations. The ruins remain remarkably well preserved. You can still see the ancient theater seating 12,000, the necropolis with over 1,200 tombs, and the sacred pool where Cleopatra supposedly bathed. Broken columns from ancient earthquakes litter the bottom of the pool, making it one of the world's most unique swimming experiences. Ancient texts claim these waters could cure everything from arthritis to heart disease. Modern analysis shows the water contains high levels of calcium, magnesium, sulfate, and bicarbonate. While scientific evidence for dramatic health benefits is limited, the water does have genuine therapeutic properties. The minerals can help with skin conditions, and the warm water is beneficial for circulation and joint pain. By the 1980s, Pamukkale was dying. Hotels had been built on top of the terraces, draining the thermal water for their pools and swimming facilities. Heavy foot traffic had turned the white terraces brown. The terraces were literally being walked to death. In 1988, UNESCO declared it a World Heritage Site and forced major changes. Hotels were demolished, swimming was restricted to designated areas, and regulations were implemented to preserve the terraces. The restoration efforts have been remarkably successful. Water is now carefully channeled across all terraces to ensure even distribution.
Visitors must remove shoes and walk only on designated paths. The terraces have returned to their brilliant white color in many areas. It's a rare environmental success story, though constant vigilance is required to maintain the delicate balance between tourism and preservation. At sunset, Pamukkale transforms into something even more magical. The white terraces reflect the golden and pink hues of the setting sun, creating a landscape that looks like it's made of rose gold. The thermal water in the pools glows in shades of turquoise and azure. It's consistently ranked as one of the world's best sunset viewing locations.
Location number 8, Vinicunca, or Rainbow Mountain in Peru. Peru's Rainbow Mountain, or Vinicunca, wasn't even known to most of the world until 2015, when the snow that had covered it for decades finally melted due to climate change. The mountain is naturally striped with bands of red, yellow, orange, and turquoise, colors created by different mineral deposits laid down over millions of years. The mineral palette. Each color represents a different geological era and mineral composition. The red stripes are iron oxide, essentially rust. Yellow comes from iron sulfide. Purple and lavender indicate manganese and other minerals. Green and turquoise are copper compounds. White layers are sandstone mixed with limestone. These sedimentary layers were deposited when this area was underwater, then lifted by tectonic activity as the Andes formed. For centuries, Vinicunca was just another snow-covered peak. Local shepherds knew about the colors beneath the snow, but few others did. As global temperatures rose, the permanent snow cover melted, revealing the spectacular colors beneath. Rainbow Mountain sits at 5,200 meters, or 17,060 feet above sea level. That's higher than Everest Base Camp. The thin air contains about 40% less oxygen than at sea level. Many visitors experience altitude sickness, headaches, nausea, dizziness. The hike takes 3 to 4 hours one way, making it one of the world's most challenging tourist attractions. Yet, over 1,000 people attempt it daily during peak season. The local impact. Before 2015, the nearby village of Pitamarca survived on subsistence farming and herding alpacas. Now, tourism provides income for hundreds of families. But this rapid change has brought challenges: environmental degradation from thousands of daily visitors, conflicts over land rights, and concerns that traditional ways of life are disappearing. It's a microcosm of tourism's double-edged sword. Few people know that Vinicunca isn't the only rainbow mountain in Peru. Pocoyo, discovered around the same time, offers similar views with a much easier hike at slightly lower altitude. It receives a fraction of the visitors, making it a more peaceful, sustainable alternative. As word spreads, Pocoyo may become the preferred destination for those seeking beauty without crowds. Carved by flash floods over millions of years, Antelope Canyon in Arizona is a slot canyon that creates one of nature's most photogenic scenes. When light beams shine down through the narrow openings above, they illuminate the smooth, wave-like walls in shades of orange, red, and purple. The Navajo name for this place is Tse-Bi-Gahanilini, the place where water runs through rocks. Antelope Canyon is a textbook example of erosion's artistic power. Flash floods carrying sand and rocks carved through Navajo sandstone, creating these narrow passages. The distinctive wave-like patterns were formed by water flowing through the cracks during thousands of flood events. The hardest rock remained, while softer areas eroded away, creating these organic, flowing shapes that look almost deliberately sculpted. Those famous light beams, called sunbeams or Navajo spirits, only appear under very specific conditions. The sun must be high in the sky, which limits the phenomenon to certain times of year, primarily between March and October. Even then, it only happens around midday. The beams are most visible when there's dust or moisture in the air to scatter the light. On some days, they don't appear at all. Antelope Canyon is beautiful but deadly. Flash floods can fill the canyon in minutes, with water rising 30 meters or more.
In 1997, 11 tourists were killed when a flash flood swept through during a tour. It hadn't rained in the canyon itself. The storm was miles away in the drainage basin. Now, tours are canceled if there's even a slight chance of rain anywhere in the region. Guides carry emergency radios and are trained to evacuate instantly. Antelope Canyon has become one of the world's most photographed natural wonders. The challenge is that everyone's photos look similar because the best viewpoints are limited and the light beams appear in the same locations. Professional photographers sometimes visit dozens of times, waiting for unique conditions, specific light angles, particular times of year, or moments when dust creates extra atmosphere. The Navajo Stewardship. The canyon is on Navajo land and can only be visited with Navajo guides. This arrangement has pros and cons. The Navajo Nation earns revenue and controls access, preventing unrestricted tourism from damaging the site. However, permits cost over $100 per person, and photography tours can cost $300 to $500. Some argue this prices out average visitors, while others say it's fair compensation for sharing sacred land. Most people don't realize there are actually two Antelope Canyons, upper and lower. Upper is wider, ground level, and accessible, making it the most visited. The famous light beams occur here. Lower Antelope requires climbing stairs and squeezing through tight passages, but it's longer, less crowded, and some say more beautiful. Each offers a unique experience.
Our final geological wonder takes us to Northern Ireland's coastline, where 40,000 interlocking basalt columns rise from the sea like a giant staircase. These perfectly hexagonal pillars were formed 60 million years ago by volcanic activity. Legend says the Irish giant Finn MacCool built them to reach Scotland, but the real geological process is equally fascinating. Around 60 million years ago, this region experienced intense volcanic activity. Molten basalt erupted from the earth and flowed across the landscape. As the lava cooled, it contracted, and the contraction created a pattern of cracks. Just like mud cracks form in drying puddles, the cooling basalt cracked in a hexagonal pattern because hexagons are nature's most efficient way to tile a surface. The result is these remarkable geometric columns, most with 6 sides, though some have 4, 5, 7, or 8. Irish mythology tells of Finn MacCumel, a giant who fell in love with a giantess on the Scottish island of Staffa. To reach her, he built a causeway across the sea. The Scottish giant Bonandanur crossed to challenge Finn. Finn's clever wife disguised Finn as a baby, and when Bonandanur saw the baby, he feared how large the father must be and fled back to Scotland, destroying the causeway behind him. The Giant's Causeway in Ireland and similar formations on Staffa in Scotland were supposedly the remains. The legend contains geological truth. The Isle of Staffa in Scotland has an identical formation called Fingal's Cave. The columns are so geometrically perfect, they look man-made. Most are hexagonal, but the distribution follows mathematical principles. Researchers have studied why basalt forms hexagons rather than squares or triangles. It comes down to stress distribution. Hexagons allow the cooling material to contract with minimal stress. It's the same reason honeycomb is hexagonal, and why soap bubbles form hexagonal patterns when compressed together. Walking on the Giant's Causeway is surreal. The hexagonal tops of the columns fit together like tiles, creating a natural pavement that seems too perfect to be accidental. Some columns are a few feet tall, others reach heights of 12 meters. The causeway extends into the sea, and at low tide, you can see columns disappearing into the water, continuing the formation beneath the waves.
From June to August, the Provence region of France transforms into a purple paradise. Endless rows of lavender stretch to the horizon, creating a landscape so uniformly purple that it looks photoshopped. The scent is intoxicating, the sight is mesmerizing, and at sunset, the entire scene glows with an otherworldly light. Lavender has been cultivated in Provence for over 2,000 years, since the Romans used it for bathing and medicinal purposes. The word lavender actually comes from the Latin lavare, meaning to wash. By the 16th century, Provence had become Europe's lavender capital. The region's specific climate, hot, dry summers, and limestone soil creates ideal growing conditions. Provence produces over 80% of France's lavender, much of it destined for the perfume industry centered in Grasse, the perfume capital of the world. A single kilogram of lavender essential oil requires 150 kilograms of fresh flowers. The most prized variety is fine lavender, or Lavandula angustifolia, which grows at higher altitudes and produces the most delicate scent. The Valenzol Plateau is the most famous lavender destination, with seemingly endless purple fields. But locals prefer the Salt area, which they say offers more dramatic landscapes, with middle-aged villages dotting the hillsides. The Sanak Abbey, a 12th century Cistercian monastery surrounded by lavender fields, creates one of France's most iconic images.
Location 12 is Santorini, Greece. The Greek island of Santorini is famous for a reason. Whitewashed buildings with brilliant blue domes cascade down dramatic cliffs overlooking the deep blue Aegean Sea. The island was formed by a massive volcanic eruption, and watching the sunset from the village of Oa is considered one of the most romantic experiences on Earth. Santorini's beauty was literally born from destruction. Around 1600 BC, the Minoan eruption occurred, one of the largest volcanic events in human history. The volcano's cone collapsed, creating the caldera we see today. The explosion was 4 times more powerful than Krakatoa, sending tsunamis across the Mediterranean and possibly inspiring the legend of Atlantis. The eruption buried the ancient city of Akrotiri under meters of volcanic ash, preserving it like a Greek Pompeii. Those iconic white buildings aren't just pretty, they're practical. The white lime plaster reflects the intense Greek sun, keeping interiors cool. The blue domes, they represent the sea and sky, but the tradition actually comes from a cheap available paint made from a mixture of limestone and a cleaning product called loulaki. During the Greek military dictatorship of 1967 to 1974, the government mandated that all buildings be painted white and blue to promote Greek nationalism. Oya's sunset has become so famous that hundreds of people crowd the narrow streets every evening, cameras ready. But here's what makes it truly special. The westward-facing caldera creates an unobstructed view across the water to the horizon. The white buildings reflect the changing colors, creating a gradually shifting palette from gold to pink to deep purple. The phenomenon lasts about 30 minutes, and when the sun finally dips below the horizon, the crowd erupts in applause.
High in the Peruvian Andes, the Maris salt mines have been producing salt since Incan times. Thousands of terraced pools cascade down the mountainside, each one a different shade of pink, brown, or white, depending on the salt concentration and mineral content. From above, it looks like a giant abstract painting. The Maris salt mines are over 1,000 years old, predating the Inca Empire. A natural salt spring emerges from inside the mountain, and the Inca engineered a brilliant system of channels to distribute the water across thousands of shallow pools. Each pool is about 5 square meters and only a few inches deep. As water evaporates in the intense high-altitude sun, it leaves behind crystallized salt. The pool's colors depend on multiple factors: salt concentration, mineral content, algae growth, and evaporation stage. Pools with fresh water appear clear or like pink. As evaporation progresses, they turn white with crystallizing salt. Pools rich in iron appear reddish-brown. The entire patchwork creates a natural color gradient that changes throughout the day as light angles shift.
The mines are divided into about 3,000 individual pools owned by approximately 700 families from the nearby village of Maras. Rights to the pools have been passed down through generations for centuries. Each family maintains their own pools, harvesting salt every few weeks during the dry season. It's communal property managed collectively, with strict rules about water distribution and maintenance.
Location number 14, Namaqualand, South Africa. For most of the year, Namaqualand in South Africa is a dry, barren semi-desert. But for a few weeks each spring after the winter rains, the entire region erupts into one of the world's greatest wildflower displays. Millions of daisies, succulents, and other flowers carpet the landscape in orange, yellow, and purple, transforming the desert into a living rainbow. Namaqualand hosts over 3,500 plant species, more than 1,000 found nowhere else on Earth. These plants have evolved remarkable survival strategies. Their seeds can lie dormant in the soil for years, waiting for precisely the right conditions. When winter rains finally come, typically July and August, the seeds germinate almost simultaneously. Within weeks, barren ground transforms into spectacular flower displays. Predicting the flower bloom is nearly impossible. It depends on rainfall amount, rainfall timing, temperature, and soil conditions. Some years bring spectacular displays. Other years, the flowers are sparse. Local tour operators monitor rainfall patterns and send scouts to different areas, reporting bloom progress on social media. Peak bloom typically lasts only 2 to 3 weeks, usually in late August or early September. Namaqualand's flowers perform a daily ritual. Many species only open when there's direct sunlight and temperatures reach certain levels. Early in the morning, the landscape looks subdued. As the sun rises and warms the ground, flowers open in waves across the hillsides, creating a spectacular transformation. By late afternoon, many flowers begin closing again. Overcast days can be disappointing because flowers remain closed. The star of the show is the Namaqua daisy, which covers entire hillsides in brilliant orange. These daisies exhibit heliotropism. They track the sun's movement across the sky, always facing the light. This behavior helps maximize photosynthesis during their brief flowering period. The effect is mesmerizing. Entire hillsides of flowers turning in unison to follow the sun.
No list of beautiful places is complete without the aurora borealis. While you can see the northern lights from several locations, Finnish Lapland offers some of the best viewing opportunities. Ribbons of green, purple, and pink dance across the night sky, caused by solar particles colliding with gases in Earth's atmosphere. Oxygen produces green and red light. Nitrogen creates blue and purple. The lights occur in an oval shape around the magnetic poles, called the auroral oval. The stronger the solar activity, the further south the aurora can be seen. During major solar storms, auroras have been visible as far south as the Caribbean. Green is the most common aurora color, produced by oxygen at altitudes around 100 to 300 kilometers. Red auroras, much rarer, occur when solar particles hit oxygen at higher altitudes, above 300 kilometers. Blue and purple come from nitrogen. The most spectacular displays show multiple colors simultaneously. Green curtains with red tops and purple edges. The colors appear to dance because the solar wind is constantly fluctuating. The best viewing locations. Lapland offers several advantages for aurora hunting. It's within the auroral oval, has minimal light pollution, long winter nights, and relatively stable weather compared to coastal locations. The town of Inari hosts Sami culture and offers aurora tours. Utsjoki, Finland's northmost municipality, provides some of the most reliable viewing. Glass igloos and heated teepees let you watch in comfort. Aurora activity follows the sun's 11-year solar cycle. During solar maximum, auroras are frequent and intense. During solar minimum, they're weaker and less common. We're currently approaching solar maximum in 2025, making the next few years excellent for aurora viewing. Scientists can now predict auroral activity several days in advance using satellite data monitoring solar wind. The mythology. The Sami called the aurora Guvsahas, which their folklore describes as resulting from a fox running across the snowy fells, stirring up sparks with its tail. In Norse mythology, the lights were the Bifrost bridge connecting Earth to Asgard. Some Sami groups considered the aurora sacred and dangerous. They believed disrespecting the lights could bring misfortune. Children were told to be quiet and respectful when the lights appeared. Beyond the common curtain displays, auroras can create rare phenomena. Steve, strong thermal emission velocity enhancement, appears as a purple ribbon arching across the sky. Proton auroras are invisible to the naked eye but can be photographed. Auroral dunes, discovered only in 2018, look like parallel stripes across the sky. During major geomagnetic storms, the aurora can make crackling or hissing sounds, though this is controversial and not everyone can hear it. Location number 16, Mount Fuji with cherry blossoms in Japan. Japan's Mount Fuji is beautiful year-round, but during cherry blossom season in spring, it becomes absolutely transcendent. The snow-capped volcanic peak provides a dramatic backdrop to delicate pink cherry blossoms, creating a scene that has inspired artists for centuries. The Japanese have a word for this fleeting beauty, mono no aware, the awareness of impermanence. The sacred mountain. Mount Fuji has been sacred to Japanese culture for over 1,000 years. Shinto shrines dot its slopes, and climbing the mountain is considered a spiritual pilgrimage. The volcano last erupted in 1707, burying villages in ash. Today, it's constantly monitored, as an eruption would threaten Tokyo, just 100 kilometers away. Despite the danger, Fujisan remains Japan's most iconic symbol, appearing on everything from ancient woodblock prints to modern currency. The cherry blossom phenomenon. Hanami, flower viewing, is a Japanese tradition dating back over 1,000 years. Cherry blossoms bloom for only about 1 week, making the viewing window extremely narrow. The Japanese Meteorological Agency issues official blossom forecasts months in advance, tracking the Sakura Zensen, or cherry blossom front, as it moves north through Japan. Peak bloom near Mount Fuji typically occurs in early April. Lake Kaguguchiko offers the classic view, Mount Fuji reflected in still water with cherry blossoms in the foreground. The Chirito Pagoda, a 5-story pagoda overlooking the town of Fuji Yoshida, provides another iconic angle. During peak bloom, photographers arrive before dawn to secure positions. The scene has become so famous that crowds can number in thousands, all trying to capture the same photograph. The Japanese concept of mono no aware, the pathos of things, perfectly captures the cherry blossom experience. The blossoms are beautiful precisely because they're temporary. Location number 17, Tegalalong Rice Terraces in Bali. The island of Bali has perfected the art of agricultural beauty. The Tegalalong rice terraces cascade down hillsides in perfect geometric patterns, creating a landscape that's both functional and stunning. The bright green of young rice plants contrasts with the golden yellow of mature crops, and the terraces follow the natural contours of the land in a system that's over 1,000 years old. The Subak system. Tegalalong's terraces are managed by Subak, a cooperative water management system dating back to the 9th century. Subak is more than irrigation. It's a philosophical system based on Trihita Karana, the Balinese philosophy of 3 causes of prosperity: harmony with God, harmony with people, and harmony with nature. UNESCO recognized Subak as a World Heritage Site in 2012, calling it a demonstration of the Balinese philosophical concept of Trihita Karana. Water flows from temples at the highest points, then through a sophisticated network of canals, tunnels, and weirs to terraces below. The system distributes water equitably among all farmers while preventing flooding and erosion. Farmers coordinate planting schedules to optimize water use and minimize pest problems. Computer models have shown the traditional Subak system is actually more efficient than modern agricultural methods. The terraces constantly change color through the growing cycle. After flooding, they appear as perfect mirrors reflecting the sky. When rice is planted, bright green shoots emerge. As it matures, the green deepens. Just before harvest, fields turn golden yellow. After harvest, the bare brown earth appears. Because different fields are at different stages, the landscape becomes a patchwork of colors. 20 years ago, few tourists visited Tegalalong. Today, it's one of Bali's most photographed locations. This transformation has been mixed. Tourism provides income for farming families, but it's also caused problems. Tourists trampling through fields, damage crops, rice terrace swings, and photo platforms have been constructed, sometimes without farmers' permission. Some farmers now earn more from photo fees than from growing rice. The existential threat. Bali faces a rice farming crisis. As tourism booms, land values skyrocket. Farmers can make more money selling land for resorts than farming it. Young people leave villages for tourism jobs. Traditional rice varieties are being replaced with higher yielding but less sustainable modern varieties. UNESCO and Balinese authorities are working to protect the subak system, but the pressure is intense. Tegalalong might become a museum piece rather than a working agricultural system.
The Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque in Abu Dhabi is a masterpiece of modern Islamic architecture. Pure white marble reflects in surrounding pools, 82 domes crown the structure, and the world's largest hand-knotted carpet covers the prayer hall floor. At night, the entire mosque is illuminated by a lighting system that changes with the phases of the moon. Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, the UAE's founding father, envisioned a mosque that would unite the Islamic world and create a cultural bridge between Islam and other faiths. Construction took 11 years, 1996 to 2007, and cost an estimated $545 million. The mosque incorporates architectural styles from across the Muslim world. Moorish, Mughal, and contemporary Islamic design elements blend seamlessly. Only the finest materials were used. The marble comes from 28 different countries, creating subtle color variations across the complex. The chandeliers contain millions of Swarovski crystals. The largest chandelier weighs 12 tons. The carpet in the main prayer hall took 1,200 artisans 2 years to hand knot and weighs 47 tons. When completed, it was the world's largest carpet, made from Iran and New Zealand wool. The mosque can accommodate over 41,000 worshippers, 7,000 in the main prayer hall, 1,500 in the smaller prayer halls, and the rest in outdoor areas. During Eid, when Muslims gather for prayers, the entire complex fills with worshippers, creating a sea of white-clothed people against white marble, a deliberately symbolic design choice. The mosque's lighting is a technological marvel. The system mimics the phases of the moon, growing brighter or dimmer throughout the lunar month. Different colored lights activate at different times, cool blues during the day, warm golds in the evening, and dramatic purples at night. Unlike many mosques worldwide, Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque welcomes non-Muslim visitors. Guided tours are offered free of charge, and the mosque has become one of the UAE's most visited tourist attractions, receiving over 5 million visitors annually. There are modest dress requirements. Visitors must cover shoulders, arms, and legs, and women must wear headscarves, which are provided free at the entrance. Islamic calligraphy adorns the walls with verses from the Quran. The calligrapher Farooq Haddad used gold leaf and semi-precious stones in his designs. The Qibla wall, the wall indicating the direction of Mecca, features 99 names of Allah in traditional Kufic script. The precision and artistry represent thousands of hours of handwork by master calligraphers. Rising from the Cambodian jungle, Angkor Wat is the largest religious monument in the world. Built in the 12th century, this temple complex showcases the height of Khmer architecture, with intricate carvings covering nearly every surface. At sunrise, when the temple's silhouette reflects in the surrounding moat, you're witnessing a scene that has captivated travelers for centuries. Angkor Wat was built between 1113 and 1150 by King Suryavarman II as his state temple and capital city. At its peak, the Khmer Empire controlled much of Southeast Asia,
and Angkor was a city of perhaps 1 million people, one of the largest cities in the medieval world. The temple was dedicated to Vishnu, breaking with the Shaivism of previous kings. Building Angkor Wat required incredible resources and engineering. The sandstone blocks, each weighing up to 1.5 tons, were quarried from Malmkulen, 40 kilometers away, and transported via canals. Researchers estimate 5 to 10 million sandstone blocks were used. The precision is remarkable. Blocks fit together without mortar, yet the joints are so tight that a knife blade can't fit between them. The gallery walls featured 1,200 square meters of bas-relief carvings depicting Hindu epics, historical events, and daily life. The most famous is the churning of the ocean of milk, a Hindu creation myth showing gods and demons pulling on a serpent to churn the cosmic ocean. Every centimeter is detailed. Researchers continue finding new details in carvings they've studied for decades. Angkor Wat is precisely aligned with astronomical events. On the spring equinox, the sun rises directly over the central tower. The temple's dimensions encode calendrical, astronomical, and cosmological information. The distance from the western entrance to the central tower equals the length of one cosmic era in Hindu cosmology. Researchers debate whether this was intentional, but the mathematical coincidences are striking. After the Khmer Empire collapsed in the 15th century, Angkor Wat was largely abandoned, though Buddhist monks continued using parts of it. The jungle reclaimed the complex, with tree roots growing through structures and vegetation covering buildings. When French explorer Henri Mouhot visited in 1860, he found a lost city swallowed by jungle, comparing it to ancient Egyptian or Greek monuments. Restoring Angkor Wat presents enormous challenges. Trees growing through structures can't simply be removed. Their roots hold crumbling stones together. Remove the tree and the building collapses. Some trees, like the famous strangler figs of Ta Prohm, have become part of the structure. Landmines planted during Cambodia's civil war still lurk in unexplored areas. Climate change brings erratic rain patterns that accelerate erosion. Pre-pandemic, Angkor received over 2 million visitors annually, generating crucial revenue for Cambodia. But mass tourism threatens the site. Foot traffic causes erosion, unauthorized climbing damages carvings, and groundwater depletion threatens stability. UNESCO and Cambodian authorities implement increasingly strict conservation measures, including visitor limits and restricted access to certain areas.
Location 20, Milford Sound, New Zealand. We're ending our journey in New Zealand's Milford Sound, which Rudyard Kipling called the eighth wonder of the world. Dramatic peaks rise straight from the sea. Waterfalls cascade from heights of over 150 meters, and on a clear day, you can see mountain peaks reflected perfectly in the still water. After rainfall, temporary waterfalls appear on every cliff face, creating one of nature's most spectacular shows. Milford Sound isn't actually a sound, it's a fjord, carved by glaciers during the ice ages. The glaciers excavated a U-shaped valley over 2 million years, creating the dramatic vertical cliffs we see today. The surrounding peaks are among the oldest rocks in New Zealand, dating back over 400 million years. Mitre Peak, the most photographed mountain, rises 1,692 meters directly from the sea. Milford Sound receives over 7 meters of rain annually. It rains about 200 days per year. This creates a unique ecosystem. Bottlenose dolphins, fur seals, and endangered fjordland crested penguins call this home. Occasionally, southern right whales enter the sound. The Milford Road connecting Te Anau to Milford Sound is one of the world's most dangerous yet beautiful drives. It passes through avalanche zones, crosses a 1.2-kilometer tunnel carved through solid rock, and navigates hairpin turns with sheer drop-offs. The road is closed an average of 100 days per year due to avalanches, flooding, and rockfalls, yet it's considered one of the world's most scenic drives. The Milford weather creates dramatic visual effects. When rain falls on the cliffs, which happens frequently, hundreds of temporary waterfalls appear, cascading down sheer rock faces.
After heavy rain, the Sound's water level can significantly rise, and the falls become torrents. Some people say Milford is even more beautiful in rain than in sunshine because of these temporary waterfalls. 20 places, 20 different kinds of beauty. From pink lakes to floating mountains, from glowing beaches to ancient temples emerging from jungles, our planet is an endless source of wonder. And here's the incredible thing. We've only scratched the surface. For every place on this list, there are 100 more equally beautiful, equally worthy of wonder, waiting to be discovered. What connects all these places? They remind us of something essential. Earth is not just our home, it's a masterpiece. Each location tells a story of geological time, evolutionary adaptation, human creativity, or the interplay between nature and culture. These places exist at the intersection of science and art, where natural processes create beauty that seems almost intentional. But there's another common thread: fragility. Many of these places are threatened by climate change, over-tourism, and environmental degradation. The Rainbow Mountain was hidden under ice for decades until warming revealed it. Victoria Falls has partially dried up during droughts. Coral reefs near the Maldives are bleaching. The Giant's Causeway is slowly eroding. We're witnessing these places at a specific moment in history, and that moment may be fleeting. Seeing these places isn't just about checking items off a bucket list. It's about understanding our relationship with Earth. When we visit these wonders, we become stakeholders in their preservation. Every visit has an impact. The question is whether that impact is positive or negative. Responsible tourism, respect for local communities, awareness of environmental consequences, these aren't optional considerations, they're essential. So here's my challenge to you. Pick one location from this list and make it your goal to visit it in the next 5 years. Not just to take photos for social media, but to truly experience it. To stand in front of Victoria Falls and feel the mist on your face. To watch the northern lights dance across the sky with your own eyes, not through a camera screen. To walk through those lavender fields and breathe in the scent. To sit at Angkor Wat at sunrays and contemplate the passage of time. But more importantly, I challenge you to find Mirabilia, the wonderful things, closer to home. Because beauty isn't just in these spectacular, far-flung locations. It's in the way light falls. Have you been to any of these places? Share your experience. What surprised you? What did you learn? What did it make you feel? I read every comment, and I love hearing your stories. Your experiences might inspire someone else's journey. Make sure you're subscribed to Mirabilia and hit that notification bell, because we're constant and endlessly beautiful. Until next time, keep exploring, keep discovering, and keep finding the Mirabilia all around you. Because in the end, life isn't measured in years, it's measured in moments of wonder.